It is Thursday. This is the EST Hangout presented by White Claw Hard Seltzer. The hard seltzer that started the wave, made with refreshingly real flavors for their iconic taste. White Claw, the difference is clear. Matt Iwanyk with you here today on this Hangout, which is going to be a lot of fun. Joining us every Thursday, it is Joaquin Gage, judge of Hot Takes, who awarded it to Lieutenant Eric. We got Quinn Phillips, Commissioner Quinn Phillips, who's making her return.
Cannot forget that title.
The commission, no, and a very well run draft last time. It was smooth, no controversy. Mm-hmm. It was fantastic.
No
so
walkouts.
Well no walkouts.
I kept LTE in his chair, so
it was a big win.
Yeah,
big
absolutely.
win. So well done, well done.
You.
I think that's the first draft of EST without any controversy this year. So good news there. And then joining us today. Former NHL goalie, former NHL coach. It is Ron Lowe who is joining us, and thank you for joining us here on the Hangout, Ron.
Thanks for having me, you guys.
You guys know
Girls
each other from
and guys.
Yeah, right.
So, what was it like coaching Gager?
Awesome.
We had our good days and we had our bad days. Gager was always very much engaged. He practiced hard and worked hard, and that's all I've ever asked from any player I've ever had.
Yeah.
Is it hard to, like, you coached a lot of different players. Is it hard to remember the individual players? Are there guys that you just don't really remember at all?
You know what? There's a couple from the late 90s that, no, I don't. I mean, I know they were at training camp, and after it was over, they were cut and gone.
Yeah.
And I can't remember that they were on our roster at one time.
Right.
No, honest to God.
Yeah.
But then I'm 73, so you figure it out. I can't remember what I ate for breakfast this morning.
You're still a spring chicken.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
I know. Plucked.
Yeah.
It was my first camp. It was right after the draft, and it was the mini camp, I think. And it was Louis. I remember because that's the first time I met Louis DeBrusque. Louis was at that camp too.
Yeah, right.
And so it was really hard. Like, we did testing. We were doing two-a-days. This was the part. I don't know if you remember this. Remember Darcy Martini? Do you remember that name at all? Big, huge, tall defenseman.
Yeah.
He had broke his back before, and I don't think he was skating. And Slats bought that real expensive scale, but Darce wasn't working out at all. And so Slats loved getting guys on the scale. So we're all getting on the scale. And Darce gets on there, and it's just lines. It's not working. Slats is losing it. He's losing. He goes, "What? I bought this expensive scale." He's going nuts. It didn't go over 300 pounds. Darce because he broke his back. He couldn't work out, and Slats was losing until we figured out it doesn't go over 300.
Three undos.
He thought the scale wasn't working and wasted his money on the scale.
If you're an expensive scale, how do you not go over 300 pounds?
Yeah,
that's not money well spent by Slats there.
I wouldn't want to have it in most football dressing rooms.
No. It's just like, you're a dashed line this year. That's how much you weigh. Yeah.
That camp was so hard. I think Jason Arnott was just drafted too, and yeah, that was a really hard.
That was the weather, and that one was not good neither. It was really, really hot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like there was fog, and Andrew Werner? Andrew Werner was, I think, there, and yeah, I remember because I was dead tired, and I saw Ronnie. All the guys were watching, and you came over. You probably won't remember this, but I remember it. You came over and called me to the crack in the glass, and you asked how I was doing, and I was like, "Oh, I'm good." I'm good. We'll start working harder then.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh my God, okay."
Were you harder on goalies just because you were a former goalie, or
Absolutely not.
No.
It's a hard enough position and too hard to play in the first place. You don't need anybody bitching at you. I know that for sure.
Yeah, it was. Suddenly you'd say things, but you weren't like a goalie coach, and like God, you didn't do that.
Well, no, and the other thing about it is that I found that as time went along and goalies evolved, I had a hard time coaching goaltenders because the game changed. I mean, if I went down on my knees as a goaltender when I played. They'd put a rope around your freaking shoulder pads and they'd hook you to the crossbar and say, don't go down. Well, if you did that now, you'd be killing guys. I mean, you'd be dying like you were jumping out of airplanes because the game has changed.
Yeah.
100%. The biggest change in hockey right now is goaltending by a mile.
Is it a good thing for hockey?
You know what? I hate short side high goals.
Yeah.
I hate it. They never used to happen.
No, it's a bad goal.
And now that is the sweet spot for anybody shooting that can hit it. If Connor McDavid, like last night, even on in the overtime, if Bush hits the net, there's no chance Swayman's stopping it because he's going down, and that's wide open. But you know what? It's all based on percentages now. It's you fall into the right place, and it's going to hit you. And I don't know. I don't like short side
I
goals.
hate it.
I hate them.
Yeah.
So where did they beat you?
Oh Christ! Everywhere.
Yeah.
Have you looked at my goals against that?
Short side high, yeah.
No, never short side high.
Right.
No, I'd take it in the neck or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, not ever short side, because if you got scored on short side, you're in the American League immediately. Like you just
Same for
didn't
you.
allow short side goals. Anything over to the far side, if you're on either side of the net, is okay. If they hit corners on you, fine. I had a bad 5-hole though. I mean, that was probably the one place that was the one that killed me.
I remember, I think we were in Winnipeg and someone ripped it short side. Goalie's not, but I glanced at the bench and he was livid. He was like, yeah, but it is like, I hated him too, but you would take it away. You know, you wouldn't allow it because it's a bad goal. You'd actually kind of move over and don't give them the option to shoot short side.
And really, in those days, your defenseman would never let the guy cut to the middle. Like they would never let anything get to the middle of the rink. So short side is yours. Yeah. And anything that starts, I mean, when you get passes across and everything like that, it was more reaction than what it is now, where it's so easy. The game is easy the way it's played now, but short side goals, I still hate them.
But even like when I was there, it was Billy, who was arguably one of the best goalies in the world at that time too. And you saw when Cooge came, even the evolution of goaltending. Like he played further back in his net and was more patient and stuff. And Billy was Billy was acrobatic, and he'd make one save and he'd have to make 8 others, but he could.
Like absolutely unbelievable. Like I was probably blessed to watch
me.
Fuhrer,
Obviously.
Fuhrer was here, Moger was here, Billy Ranford was here, Curtis Joseph was here. And you know, like this is what we always get into about talking about coaching and being a good coach or a bad coach. And I said, you know, I was a pretty decent coach when Cujo was here and became an average coach when Tommy Salo came in. And Tommy Salo was a good goaltender. He just wasn't Curtis Joseph.
Yeah.
And like you go around and look, like in the last few years, I think there's only one team that's won without having really, really good goaltending. Actually, 2 in the last couple of years, where Colorado won, and they didn't have great goaltending. And now I'm not too sure Aiden Hill isn't a great goaltender. You know what I mean? This guy's playing off the wall.
What a fun surprise, hey?
Oh, no, it's not. It's the wrong time to have that
good
going
Lord,
on for
I
us.
know.
I got
that
into
was
it with
awful.
Dusty a couple weeks ago about that, because I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Aiden Hill right now, and like I'm betting that he's going to keep playing like this for a little bit, and Dusty thinks it's a little too small of a sample size for Aiden Hill.
Well, you know what? There's something to be said for that. And you think the other day that Demko got scored on at will the other day. Yeah. And you've had Hellebuck actually let in 4 goals the other day. Is there a chance that maybe some of the guys are breaking? They've played so much that, I mean, it's, you know what? It's a hard game. It's a hard game.
And the thing is that, like, frankly, Aiden Hill's sample size is small, but, like, it's the most high pressure.
Yeah.
Like, does that make a difference? Because it's like, we're talking about winning a Stanley Cup.
Exactly.
You
Did in
know,
the
so like that
playoffs.
sample size is small, but he comes in pretty unknown. You know, every Oilers fan was like, "Oh, here we go. We got the backup now, right?" And then he goes and wins the Stanley Cup.
The thing I didn't like about the way the Oilers approached the first couple of games is when he was in, I didn't think they shot enough.
No, they didn't.
I mean, and that to me
Yeah.
bothered me. I thought, like, even the other night against the kid, they didn't shoot until third period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
sit there and go, man, you got a first-time starter,
Yeah.
and we're going to pass everything and make a perfect play. And that drives you nuts as a coach. You'd be out of your mind. You're going, like, load it up and keep firing because you've got guys that can score from anywhere.
So do you think that they might have even almost given Aiden Hill confidence because they weren't shooting enough? And
Yeah.
I totally do. What
Oh,
do you?
yeah. I mean, when you're only guys are coming down and they're trying to get the perfect play and it doesn't happen, you're like, okay, and then you finally get a wrister from the blue line and you start feeling good about yourself and you're like, they built his confidence up. I didn't like when he went in because, okay, all of a sudden you went from Brossois, who was a little more active. You know, he was going left to
He
right.
looked beatable.
Yeah.
Breswan, those first couple of games against
Hey?
us,
Yeah.
it's like the Oilers are going to beat this Golden Knights team with Breswan now.
And when Hill went in, I was like, oh no, this guy's a monster and he's just robotic. And I was like, he's going to be way harder to beat on straight shots. And Vegas doesn't allow pucks through the middle. And
Yeah.
they got to get garbage ones, and they're so difficult to score on this way. He fits the way that they play a lot better, I thought. Than
100%.
Brossois. Yeah.
100%.
When you guys look at Skinner, do you see a guy that could take this team to the Cup, though? Based on what you've seen this season from him, or is there a concern that he's been playing a lot, or like where are you guys at, especially as former coach but former goalies? What are you guys seeing from Skinner?
He's very technical, which I like. I think he provides a serenity with your team where he gets in the right position a lot. Right now, I think he's allowing tired goals, like fatigue. They look like he's fatigued. He's just going down to go down. There's no patience in his game, and that's what you do when you get tired as a goalie. You're just trying to get in the way of it, and there's no patience in his game. Do I think he can take? Yeah, I think anyone can. You just got to. All goalies that get to the NHL are really good goalies, and at some point in their career, they've raised their game to a level that's above that, and you just have to somehow get to that level
At the right time.
At the right time. And we've seen it. Like Ronnie's seen it firsthand with what Cooge did. It seemed like when he got to the playoffs, and I've talked to him about this, he loved the fact that he didn't have to practice as much, and he was going up against another goalie. And that's how his kind of motivation was, and he just loved playing in that high-pressured
He
situation.
saw Belfour at the other end and going, "I'm going to best you tonight."
I'm gonna beat that guy at the other end and outsave you, and that's how what he told me. He kind of went, and he was. I mean, Ronnie will go on it, but he was unbelievable. I don't know how he's not in the Hall of Fame yet. He's just a miraculous goaltender.
Yeah, I think he was one of the all-time best because we didn't have a great team. We had a team that worked its butt off every day, and like Dougie Waite said, it is a sweater hanging. The last game against Dallas, I think we had 97 hits. And you know what? That's absolute no. We couldn't beat them. I mean, Todd Marchant told me one day, he goes, listen, I'll run Hatcher every time because it drives him nuts. And I went, okay, you go. And we had to play that way or we had no chance. But at the other end, Curtis was unbelievable. I mean, honest to God. And Skinner, I think he can.
Yeah.
I really do. You know, the one thing that he can't do is he doesn't have to win many games.
No, yeah.
Just don't lose any. Because if he plays, when they're playing good, they're playing a much higher game. They're getting back into the zone a lot better. Like you saw it in the Dallas game, what it changed from the game before. Like all of a sudden the thought process was, man, we got to get back to that 14-game streak or whatever it was. And when through that streak, Curtis didn't have to, Skinner didn't have to clean up much.
Yeah.
He was basic and he was very much in his spots. But now you're getting those wristers from the point again where you're getting the crisscrosses in front of you. And he had a tough night last night, and not that he didn't make saves. He made a bunch of really
But
really
then also
good
let
saves.
in some soft goals, like that first. It was the first goal, right?
Yeah.
Like I that wasn't a good goal. I know my brother sent me a panic text, like I don't know. Stuart Skinner the last couple of games has let in some soft goals, so that touches on the point of like you can't lose those games. So yes, he has to make the big saves, but he also just has to make.
But you know what? Give me 90%, and from either goaltender down the stretch, and I think they win a ton of games.
Right. Okay.
I mean, that's basically what it is. And don't go to 89. It's not good enough. You got to be 90.5, and you're gonna be fine.
Yeah, a lot has you can't allow those great players to have those chances too.
No,
right? Like,
exactly.
And time. Like, great players will make stuff happen, but when you give NHL players time, then they can really make you pay for it. Like that Pasternak goal.
Yeah, I was just thinking. I was like, that was the exact one that came to mind.
So you give him time, and it's just he goes, "Oh, yum yum, give me some." And
It's a shooter's paradise.
Yeah, it was funny because I was sitting with Sean Brown last night, and he coaches it, and it's so hard because when we were on the ice and looking, they're so slight now. There's basically nothing to hockey players anymore. A lot of guys they're big, so. Because you can't hold anymore, so it's all about positioning and stuff. So, and once a guy's got position, you're kind of screwed. Like you're going to take a penalty at that point, right? So,
yeah. And the other thing about that too, right now taking a penalty, if you're the Oilers, you just got to be rolling the dice because the penalty killing is definitely falling off the wagon for whatever reason. And to me, it doesn't look a whole lot different. They're pressuring. I think that guys are doing an awful lot of game films and picking things apart that are there.
Yeah,
and that's what I feel right now.
I think they've dissected that PK that was going
pressure. Then all of a sudden you're starting to get puck from one side to the other.
Yeah.
But last night Boston moved it around. Oh my God, that passing was unbelievable.
Yeah, they're a good team.
Yeah, they are.
They're a really good team.
It's fun.
You're like watching them and you're just seeing the names, like, and you're just like, oh my God, is this even fair? Some of the names. Yeah.
And think of all the guys that weren't there last night.
Yeah.
I mean, they got 3 defensemen that are out of their lineup.
Right. Yeah.
And the guys that they're missing from last year, holy jeez, they had a hell of a team.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's that
hell of a
good
team
down the
that
middle.
did
Like
not-
they're missing Bergeron and Krejci. Like those are world class.
And they quit the same year. You think Boston's going to be way worse.
Yeah.
But you know what? Boston's a pretty consistent hockey club. They play the same way year after year after year. And if you fit the system, you're there. And if you don't fit the system, you're gone.
Why do you think that, like, back then there were guys that played, like goaltenders that could play 60, 70 games? Why do you think we don't really see guys like...
You know what, Gager, I'm telling you, and the travel's way easier now than it was then. But I think it's the travel. We're going side to side, like, way more. And I just think it's really hard. Really hard to do it.
Yeah.
And I also think that there's a ton of shots, good shooters in the game now, and I think it just wears you down. That's my feeling. I don't know.
In the nasty or in the Parish Rules inbox 780-218-9999, Coach Mike says, "Is goalie fighting through screens also have to do with fatigue?" Is that or no?
I don't buy that.
I mean, you're certainly moving a lot more, right?
But I think when you're screened, you're trying to look around them. But if you've got crossovers, you're not. I don't think that has anything to do with fatigue. I think that's to do with goaltending. You're just, and you know how many times you get hit when you're in the right position, and how many times you go look one way and the puck's going the other way, where if you would just sat there.
Yeah.
I mean, the way they play now, positioning is what it's all about. But the guys with hands in front of the net, I think, is what driving goalies crazy. There's so many guys that can tip the puck now.
Yeah.
Like everybody. Everybody stays out after practice. If you go watch a practice, and guys are knocking pucks out of the air like Gretz started that stupid thing where he walked around with a puck on his blade for half an hour. Now everybody can do it. Like your Luke Gazdick can do it now, for God's sake. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. I hate it. I remember, Smitty, after practice, he'd go, Gager, come on. I'm like, oh, Smitty, I've been out here for 45 minutes already. And we'd have to go, and he'd had tipping pucks.
Yeah.
And it was awful. I hated Ryan for this because he would even in drills. I don't know if you remember this, but if he would come in and shoot and I'd save it, but the rebound go with the goal, he'd go get the puck, come back while the drill's going, and he'd go and shoot it in the net. Go and so I'm like, you prick. So I would essentially I know
You're focused on the next people.
Whatever 2-on-1's coming, and I saved Smitty. He's going to get the puck. He's coming back, and I dive back and to stop Smitty from scoring because it drove me crazy so much. And we would basically battle forever. I remember, I think it was Dougie, or who was it? I don't know who it was. I think it was Freddie Olson. Great. Oh, yeah. And he's like, what are you guys doing? Because I think I ran into him because he was taking the 2-on-1. And I go, I'm trying to stop Smitty. And he goes, Smitty, stop it, or whatever.
I remember one play this year where, I don't know if you guys remember it, when Connor was cutting through the middle, the puck came, I forget, somebody gave him one of those beautiful passes that are about that high in the frickin' air.
Then it's probably
He
Leon.
hits it out of the air.
That was a couple
and
games
then knocks it forward over the defenseman and picks it up on the other side, and you're going, what is that?
Why couldn't I have that on my team as a coach? You know?
No,
How much better would it be him?
Oh, no. I mean, I'm just looking at it, I'm going, my God, what was that?
Yeah.
I mean, guys are pretty damn skilled, and that's what I said. I think, that's the other reason that goaltenders get really tired, is because you get so many of those things that are getting whacked down, and then mentally it's tiring because you're in perfect position on a shot that's coming, and all of a sudden it might be in the top corner. It was coming low stick side, man. I mean, those things drive you.
It's mentally draining to know you were perfect, and it still beats you.
Yeah.
It's like, then you start thinking, well, should I have done something? And then you start changing crap, and then you're really screwed.
Don't you think that's what happened to Stewart early in the year?
Yeah.
Man, everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Yep.
There was
Yeah.
tips from here in and off their own. I don't know how many. They think the defenseman scored 5 or 6 times
On their
in
own,
a 4-game sequence where they actually shot it in. Like, it was weird, and you're going, what? And so that gives you, you get to start doubting what you're doing.
So
Crazy game.
it's
Speaking of the psychology, this is interesting. I mean, obviously the psychology is such a big part of the game now, and they talk about it so much more. Like, when you were playing, what were the things that you did, to get, back grounded if you were playing bad? I mean, because now, they're going to get a ton of people involved, working on your confidence. Was that there? I know. Yeah, I know. I knew the answer to that.
No, Quinn, I'm 73 years old.
So what did you do? How did you get out of funks?
You know what? And I coached exactly the same way. The only thing you can actually do, for me, was to work harder. I just said, there's got to be a way to change it. So I'd go out and I'd stay an hour and a half after practice and work on things that were going shitty. And that's just what you did. And I mean, psychologically, God, I don't think anybody could ever get in this head. So, I mean, it wouldn't have helped. I mean, it wouldn't have. You have to. I think the thing about it is about goaltenders, and it's maybe bad to say it, but you have to think you're really good.
Oh, there's an arrogance.
Oh my, you have to.
Yeah.
I mean,
like boxer,
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna kill everybody.
You have to be. You have to think you can't beat me. And that was one of the great things about coming to Edmonton for me, when they had all those young kids and they were so goddamn good. Like passing the puck around and stuff like that. I became a way better goaltender at 32 than I ever was any other time, because those guys made you do things that you couldn't do.
Yeah.
And it's wild. But psychologically, I've never had I had, Johnny Bauer told me one day something that was going to keep me out of hockey if I didn't smarten up. And I said, what was that? And he says to me, a knife and a fork. I was 235 pounds when I went to training camp. And I'm going, there's psychological right there. So I put
Damage.
it in.
Wow.
No, because I mean, I didn't have a goalie coach till I think, in the minors. Scott Housen got some guy that made some videos, and he came and like he ruined me for like 2 weeks, because he was just go out, butterfly, that's it. That was his style, right? So I just I'll try this, and it was just bing, bing, bing. They're just scoring everywhere. And I'm like, what? This isn't working. And then I essentially said, you know what? When things went in the pooper, I would just go, I have to start working harder. And then I would tell them, just go play the game.
Yeah, exactly.
And it would be messy and I would be all over the place, but I'd win and somehow gain some confidence back from that and start refining a little bit more. Like the one thing about goaltending, and I've said this before, everyone thinks, you make the big glove save or a big two-pad. You hate those saves because it usually means you were out of position and you had to do something special to stop the puck. It was way more enjoyable to get a puck right in the chest, because you knew you were in the right spot and he probably didn't have anything else to shoot at. Those were the most enjoyable saves because you actually knew you were doing something right.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Interesting.
I would have never thought that.
Yeah,
like as a kid, like playing
absolutely
street
not.
hockey, wanting to
Yeah.
make the big diving save or whatever.
Yeah.
It's that you watch the body language of a goalie. If he lets out a rebound and makes this big next save, watch his body language. Usually he's pissed because he let that
Right.
rebound out.
Like
Right.
if you watch Hallbuck right now,
Oh, yeah.
my God, he is just like, he's there and they hit him. And
Yeah.
if something goes wrong, he's talking to himself.
Oh yeah.
Within like 5 seconds, you can see it. And that's the way it is right now.
I would have never thought that.
I learned
And-
something
yeah.
very new today.
Brand new for me too. That I would have never figured
So
that out
we're
as a
all
goalie.
bored in the stands.
And you guys are loving life. You guys
we're
are
all
just like,
yes, bad shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
But you know what? That's funny. It's the same with coaches. I like to be bored behind the bench, man. I just like to sit there and go, okay, we're playing really well. We're not giving up anything in the middle. The shots are like 5-4 after the first period, and you're going, what's wrong with your team? And you're going, nothing. Absolutely
my team
nothing.
is absolutely perfect. Why are you asking?
No,
Yeah.
I was actually, I got to say that's absolutely BS for me, because I didn't really think that much about our end of the rink. If I could keep them in their end, then we didn't have to worry about our end.
Yeah.
And that was like forecheck, go hard, go.
Yeah.
But the game changed completely on this end of it now, 100%.
But we were talking before the show how yesterday's game, as a coach, was getting you frustrated. Everyone else is loving the 6-5 OT game, but a coach would
I
go.
mean, you're having fun.
No,
Yeah.
I would have been absolute. Well, you know what? It was kind of a weird game because it went in spurts. Like the last 5 minutes or 6 minutes of the second period, you look at it and you say, why can't Edmonton play like this all the time?
Yeah.
Then you look at it realistically and you go, you just can't. You can't sustain that much pressure on anybody for it. And that's the ebbs and flows of the game now, man. I mean, one team gets you for a bit, you get them, and you hope that you have way more of them than the other team does, because everybody talks about it. Every player that ever has an interview, well, there's ebbs and flows and things go here and things go there. And that's the way it is. But last night's game, there was a lot of really, really bad mistakes in really crucial situations that, like Pasternak's goal, even there, like you look at it and you go, how does he, the best player on their best shooter on their team,
Have that
get
much
that
time?
much time?
Yeah.
And you go, well, I've watched Austin Matthews, which is the best scorer in the league, be wide open in the slot 65 times this year. And I'm sitting there going, I know that coach before the game said, whatever happens, make sure you pick up Matthews. Okay. But that's why,
Coach,
that's why good players end up being good players, because they can melt and all of a sudden they're back in their ice.
Yeah, I love seeing the skill just come to the top. To me, as a fan, like I'm really enjoying where hockey is skill wise, just because it's. I'm seeing Matthews, like this guy's gonna get 70 this year.
Yeah.
Like just in this day and age, like who's thinking like 70? That's absolutely insane. And like even like look, there's always the beef Oilers versus Leafs and all that. Even Oiler fans are like respecting this, going, this guy's having just this incredible season right now.
Well, right now, isn't he 50 and 54?
I think he's on pace for 78
Did he get 50?
or
Yeah, he got
77 or something right now.
in Arizona.
54?
Yeah.
That was his
Yeah.
54th
Yeah.
game? Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah, he's just shy of 80 for pace right now,
Yeah.
which is just
Wow.
ridiculous. Which means Connor McDavid's going to get pissed off and go for that next year. That's how he does things. Like last year, he went for that goal scoring stuff. Next year, he'll try to be like, I'll show you. And,
Score 85.
yeah.
He could.
Well, that's
he
the
doesn't
thing.
shoot though, but I always.
But
got
if he
mad at
wanted to.
Dougie,
Yeah.
because Waiter had a great shot, but it was like in practice. It was. I was like, how is this guy never shooting the puck? But he would always dish. He would always dish.
Yeah,
it up.
deferred all the time.
All the time.
And the thing about it is when he was on that half wall, he could score from over there, too.
Yeah.
He
He
could.
could take 2 steps and wire it.
Yeah.
And
But I know there's guys that are passers, but McDavid can do just about all of it.
yeah, he can do everything.
It's pretty
great.
scary.
This is the EST Hangout presented by White Claw, Joaquin Gage, Ron Lowe, Quinn Phillips, Matt Iwanyk with you here. I want to get into the Paris Jewelers inbox, 780-218-9999. Stampater with a question. He says, I was lucky enough to be at Game 3 against Dallas when scored 3 late and 1 in overtime. Curious on Mr. Lowe's memories of that night. It was something else.
The U-turn on the Capilano. Yeah, I remember that.
love that.
Everybody left the game.
I did because I had to wait for my dad.
Everybody left the game, and then all of a
We got to all
sudden,
start referring to it that way now.
they were turning around and coming back to watch the overtime. Oh, Christ. What do I remember about it? Probably one of the gutsiest performances I've ever seen by a team anywhere, anytime. And I was lucky enough to be part of it. And it was crazy. I remember after we'd scored 2, Bob McCammon was behind the bench with me, and he comes over and he goes, Ronnie, he says, I think we should call a timeout. And I said, why? He goes, well, I think they're tired. And I said, Bob, Ren Murray's out against, what was the French kid, Belanger?
Yeah.
That took all their face-offs?
Yeah.
And I said, he's beaten him 6 times in a row. This face-off, we're winning. And he won it back to the point, wrist shot, Greersy tip, boom, goal. And I look at Bob and go, see? He's
Oh, God. Those moments are humbling, though, for coaches, hey?
It was so cool because he had been beating him.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he'd been beating him every draw. So I said, no, I don't want a timeout right now. And then Bucky scoring in overtime just kind of put the final touch on an evening that was absolutely incredible. I'll never forget the game and never forget. But that building was damn near empty. There was a lot of people
Really?
gone.
Yeah. Well, I sat in the second deck. Like, it's funny. Obviously, you know, with my dad, I have a lot of hockey memories, as
Right.
we all do, right? But that one, like, I remember who I was with at that game. Like, I remember so many details about it. And I've been to a lot of games in my lifetime. And I'll never, I mean, certainly between the third period and overtime, like it was absolute pandemonium on the concourse. Like everybody is high-fiving each other, hugging each other. The volume is just absolutely insane just on the concourse. Like it will go down as one of my all-time favorite hockey memories. I mean, I was alive for all the cups. I was pretty young for them, but that was when I was of age, right? I was, teenager. So I have such a good memory of it. And I'll never forget it as long as I live. I was with my friend Jen Bromley, who I haven't seen in decades now, but what a lucky girl. I don't think she understands to this day, what it was like to be brought to that game.
And isn't it absolutely crazy? You've been around a lot of hockey, but Edmonton in the playoffs has got to be the craziest place to be. And everybody goes, our building's really loud. Our building's really loud in Toronto, in Vancouver.
Yeah.
I swear to God, I've never heard.
Especially at Northlands.
Oh,
yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
The noise. I mean, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful.
I really missed that building. I know, I remember Taylor Hall, the last night there, and I was like, I was crying the last minute of the, and he was just like, why? It's just a building. And I was like, yeah, but this building houses my entire childhood, up until my 30s, right? This is where I grew up, it's not just a building. It was essentially my second home. I mean, I was around all the time, right? Yeah. So I loved being in that building and in the playoffs, just that low roof.
There was a vibe in the city that
my
was just absolutely crazy.
gosh,
Just crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, springtime's great when they're always in the playoffs
yeah.
because one, we've just gone through winter. So everyone's already happy. And now you're adding in, let's watch some Oilers playoff hockey, and then there's just that level
go
of
outside
excitement.
And I don't have to wear a parka at the game. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I have to wear a parka because my seats are under a vent.
Oh, God.
And then the warmer it gets, the deeper the Oilers go, the warmer it gets outside, the colder it gets inside the rink.
Press box gets cold.
Oh, yeah.
Press box,
It's cold.
the AC just shoots right on us and stuff. And
I'm
we can't really complain though, but
I'm higher than the press box in my season seats, so
higher than the press box.
well, I'm pretty close to higher. I'm the second last row of the building behind the net that the Oilers attacked twice. Obviously, I'm not in the Sportsnet club, so.
Is that higher? Almost.
Yeah, it is.
It's
I think it
pretty
is.
close.
Yeah.
Wow. Didn't even realize that.
Go ahead.
No, I was just a couple. Just on that, the VR Montenegro saying I was working at Northlands as a parking attendant for that game.
Oh, really?
The whole place was absolute chaos with fans trying to come back in and fans leaving. We just left. And then Caster 1990 saying no U-turn on Capilano for me and my buddy. We had a rule stay until the final second. I only break that rule in baseball. Baseball's the only sport, if I go to a Riverhawks game, I'm okay sometimes leaving a little early, had my time, but beyond that, I don't care what the score is. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
You stick around till that final whistle and you enjoy it. Because there might be a great comeback.
Yeah.
If
And you don't want to miss it.
If you'd left last night when it was
4-1.
midway through the
4-2
the third period,
Yeah.
you'd have missed the heck of it. Well, I was wanting to go home. It was midnight. I
Oh
mean,
gosh. I hear.
and
Well,
up-
yeah. I had a
after
7 a.m.
midnight
nail
for me
appointment.
is no good.
Yeah.
No good.
Quinn had a 7 a.m. nail appointment. If you hadn't noticed if you haven't noticed her today, always just bringing the
What?
hands out. Oh, you guys, what a comment, So, green for St. Patty's Day, or just because?
I just felt like green. Yeah, I don't know. There was no real thought process behind it. I'm not one of those people. I'm just go in and what does my heart speak to me that day?
How often do you get your nails done?
Every 3 weeks.
It's 3
Every
weeks, okay.
Thursday, 3 weeks at 7 a.m.
Oh, it's always at 7.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's early.
That is early.
Yeah, especially after a late game. But I live, 15 blocks from the rink. I mean, not as close as you, obviously. So I could have been in bed by 11:30, but I wasn't. So
I had to drive the kids home last night. I was designated driver, so I got
You
home
were
around
late.
10 after 12.
oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, I hate those. And especially, when you play an Eastern team, why?
Well, it's not
I
even just
get
an
that
Easter
it's
team.
TNT.
It's
Bruins.
Boston Bruins.
Yeah.
Original 6, iconic team, having a great season yet again. It's Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and the Edmonton Oilers.
And you-
8:22 puck drop.
That's what I said last night, man, and the
10:22
fans
Eastern
were
time.
into it.
Yeah.
8:22,
I
and
know.
they were into it.
But now think about all the people back out east that
Oh, see?
missed that hockey game
I know.
last
Yeah.
night. Because,
Or-
especially when it goes to 4-1, if you're
Yeah.
out there, you're going, well, if you're a casual fan.
They're going to bed.
Over.
Yeah.
Bruins have got
100%.
this. I'm good. Shut it off. Go to bed. Waking up today
Overtime.
going 6-5 OT. What happened there? And it's well, good job, hockey. This is going to grow it.
Or you could be like my brother who lives in Toronto now, obviously a ravenous Oilers fan, has two, like a 5-year-old and an almost 2-year-old, and still stays up. Yeah. And like will text me and be like, "This is absolute BS. I'm going to bed. Yeah. I'm so annoyed." And then like 15 minutes later, he's like, "No, I can't sleep. I'm not going. I'm going to keep watching." Right? Like he's so funny. So he was up till 1 a.m. and then probably up again at 6 a.m.
and with the kids,
and like doing like and then going and running a lab or teaching a class. He's a professor, so yeah. Or he'll watch in bed and he'll have to quietly watch because his wife is sleeping. Yeah. So yeah.
Then you really can't get mad. You're going to wake up the wife. You got to watch somewhere else.
Then there's a lot more anger than just your own. Yeah. Yeah. So he's funny. So there's probably a lot of fans that are like that. Like they can't stick, especially in Boston, right? Like they're just such big sports fans there. Exactly. So I have such great memories of Boston. I went on a trip there. I think you must have been the coach. It was the first year that the Fleet Center was open.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd gone to New York with my mom and then took the train to Boston. Freddie Brathwaite was the goalie. I remember because we saw him in the mall like before the game and he was calling me skipper because I was missing school to be on this trip. Right. I have such a good memory of that. But and the Boston fans, that was right after Billy Ramford was traded for Mariusz Czerkowski.
Oh, yeah. Okay, right.
Czerkowski ended up scoring the game winner.
On Billy.
On Billy.
Yeah.
And the Boston fans cheered. Like they were really good. Yeah. And I was so surprised. And I've held on to that forever. I've always had a really special place in my heart for the Bruins and Bruins fans. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, that was a crazy. Remember trying to get into that building?
Oh, I remember we got lost because I came on the bus for the pregame skate. And we were wandering around. We couldn't figure out how to get. Yeah, we couldn't figure out how to get to the.
Yeah. And then you drive your bus in, and you've got about this much room on either side with your mirrors. And I'm going, what are we doing?
This? Yeah. So like everybody was lost. I remember I was walking with Ryan Smith. These are all teenage memories. I was 14 years old, and walking around, and nobody knew where to go, and like it was like we're never gonna find the room. Like how are they gonna get ready for a skate? Yeah. They can't find the room, right?
It was bad.
Home ice advantage right there.
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? Yeah. So.
You mentioned Bob McCammon. It reminded me of a story. You'd played this perfectly, I think. We had our Christmas or our Halloween party, and Ken Sutton wore we went to Spirit of Halloween or whatever it was and got costumes. He had a Fester mask and got an Oilers tracksuit and went as Bob McCammon for the Christmas party. So,
oh no!
But Bob got wind of this, and so. Ronnie calls us over the next practice and goes into this. Guys, I got some bad news. Bob had a heart attack last night, or I don't know what you said. He's in the hospital, and we're all like just, oh my God. Like we're all just crushed. Bob went to the same store, and Ken Sutton, who did it, his nickname was Buffalo Head. He had a big head, right? So Bob McCammon goes and rents this big, huge bison head.
Stop it.
Put a Sutton jersey on. And the game before, he got a penalty. And it was one of those moments in the game where everything was quiet. And all it was like F-bomb all the way, banging his stick. So Bob McCammon comes out in the Sutton jersey with this massive buffalo head on, slamming his stick, swearing, and goes into the penalty box. We couldn't start practice for like 20 minutes because we were all just dying laughing. Because, we all thought Bob was dying. And then he came up. God, that was great. But Bob was, he was awesome, man. He was so funny. Like, his sense of humor was hilarious. I remember being in the minors, and we'd be out, and we'd be at the bar talking, and he'd be like, Joaquin, how's he doing? And I go, he's doing all right. He goes, does he owe you money? And I go, no. He goes, well, if he does, you better get it because he's not going to be here long. He'd say stuff like that.
I remember the one time we were on the bench, and who was it took the slap shot off the ankle? I think it was Drew Bannister.
Okay, yeah.
Drew blocked the shot off the ankle, and Kenny Lowe's on the bench going down, looking at Bannister, and Bannister's just like giving it. So McCammon goes, Kenny, come here. Yeah. He goes, is that guy hurt? And Kenny goes, I think so. He goes, good, because that face is killing me. Honest to God.
It's
And
just-
you just sit there and you go,
oh my
oh
God,
my
Bobby."
God.
Yeah.
When you start talking about that and guys getting hurt,
Oh,
hurt
he
and
was
stuff
so
like that.
funny.
We were in Washington, and Sean Van Allen
Okay.
got absolutely clocked. Middle of the rink, I think by Ludwig.
Okay.
Drills him, knocks him out cold. They take him into the room. Doctor comes in. Teddy Green's coaching. Doctor comes in. Says to Teddy, he's knocked out. He has no idea where he is or what's going on or who he is even. And Teddy goes, Doc, he says, I'll tell you what, when he wakes up, tell him he's Wayne Gretzky. I just about fell out of my chair. And it's like those are the things that we did. Oh, my God, so stupid.
But you coached all those guys in the Cape too, like
Yeah, I
Van
did.
Allen
All
and
of them.
Curdog and stuff like
Yeah, I
that.
had fun. That was a good group of
That
guys
was-
down there, too.
That was an amazing group of players.
I think
too.
we all drank a little too much, but, it was...
tough not to there. That was
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of that down there.
God, I forgot about. Yeah, that's so long ago now.
Oh, my God.
Cape Breton, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was a scary place to live.
that was.
Yeah.
They still had
What?
well,
Like,
Very, very
Oh.
scary place to live. Like, I came from Halifax, which was probably one of my favorite towns I've ever
It's
lived
awesome.
in.
I've
Yeah,
heard only
it's
In my life.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a really good place. And then you go to Cape Breton, and they closed the number one restaurant in the place the year we moved in.
oh really?
And the number one restaurant was Tim Hortons. And
Oh,
my
no.
wife, like, we had kind of been around a little bit and gone to all kinds. And, like, there was really nothing to do there.
No.
But in
Really?
the end, you got real close with your players. And real close with your Dave Andrews became a great friend of mine.
yeah.
And it was just because you had to be close knit, man. It was like, oh, unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I remember Fabian Joseph played for me there. He was a Cape Bretoner. And I'd walk into the Tim Hortons to get a coffee in the morning, and I'd probably benched him the night before a little bit. And they'd just tear into me. Hey, buddy, what are you doing? But they're putting Fabian Joseph out of the game last night. What the hell are you doing? And I'm sitting there going, sorry, guys, you didn't think he was playing that good, and usually I don't sit people that are playing great. I ended up not going back to Tim Hortons. I couldn't do it, man. Every day you went in and somebody was giving it to you.
It was just like the scene in Slapshot when Paul Newman's in the bar and everyone's telling, yeah, you got to work on yeah, we're working on it. Well, that's how you would talk to. And the Tim Hortons was funny back then. There was smoking and non-smoking Tim Hortons. So
gross,
the
yeah.
smoking Tim Hortons had the black awning, and you'd go in there, you couldn't even see what to order. It was just, it was hilarious. Yeah, no, that was an interesting few years. There was a ski hill just outside of town.
Yeah.
So me and that first year with Oliver and Marchant and Tyler Wright, we would go skiing. And I got a snowboard sent to me, so I was snowboarding. But falling, your wrists, and I couldn't play the puck. Thank God he was coaching he was up at the big club, but the puck would be rung around. I couldn't go out because it would hurt my hands. I couldn't play the puck, and so they would get guys on the bench go, why isn't Gage playing the puck? And it was Pete Mahovlich was the coach.
Oh,
Pete was like, why isn't he playing the puck? And guys were like, because he's snowboarding. His wrists are screwed. He can't handle it.
No.
Yeah. So it was great. God, Pete, he was a hoot, man. Jesus.
I'll tell you one thing about Cape Breton, though, boy. The fans, they loved their hockey. They were intense. They were into it.
Dennis Bonvie, he was a god.
I forgot about
yeah,
him, too,
Dennis
God.
was great.
Yeah.
Man. He was like,
All these names, yeah, too.
Yeah.
Same with me. I'm like, just, oh, right, of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
Boy, pound for pound, he was a tough kid.
Oh, God. He was the only fighter that I knew that loved to fight. Like, the guys would go, I got to fight this guy, the next guy. Dennis would be like licking his chops oh, I can't wait to fight this guy. Like,
He'd be reading the guy's stats before the game.
He
I know,
couldn't wait.
unbelievable.
It was, and how far he came. Like, I remember getting called up with him one time, and he worked so hard on his game. Like, no one worked harder than Dennis. And I remember just seeing him actually play with NHLers. Like, he got so much better. But yeah, like you said, probably the toughest guy I've ever played with, for sure. Like, and the pure love of beating guys up was just crazy.
Yeah.
This is the EST Hangout presented by White Claw, Joaquin Gage, Ron Lowe, Quinn Phillips, Matt Iwanyk with you here. We will get to Hockey Helps the Homeless in a little bit. Portions of the hour are brought to you by the Hive Product Marketing, official merch partner of EST, promotional products that bring the buzz. Check them out, thehiveproductmarketing.com. We still have some EST merch. Shop EST right at the top of our website, edmontonsportstalk.com. Lacombe Drew coming in for a couple of hats today. So a little bit of merch still available, and then soon we'll put out some new merch products for you. For those listening on YouTube, tune in, give us a sub, or favorite us on TuneIn Radio. You're mentioning fighting. Have you ever got into a goalie fight? Because I was told that you've been in a goalie fight.
I've been in lots of goalie fights.
A lot.
I was a Goonin junior.
Even as a goalie.
Well, we had a team in Dauphin that had no real big guys, and I was 235 pounds, and I lived with a little French kid, and he used to get shit kicked out of him all the time, and I'd go after guys that beat him up. I mean, I did. I fought probably 7 or 8 times in the NHL. Fought Harold Sneps one night.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Harold came by and gave me he shot a puck from the point and came charging in.
Yeah.
And I stopped the puck and he whacked my hands. And I said, what are you doing? And so he goes, well, what do you want? Want to fight, big boy? And I said, no, not right now. So after that, Jersey. Remember in Jersey how you have to cross the players.
Right.
Their players come this way. We go this way. So I'm skating by Harold, and he's looking, and I just drill him with the blocker. Started a frickin' line. There was a brawl. That was the end of the period. Mel Bridgman's laying on top of me, and Mel's covering me up because I'm getting the crap beat out of me. And I said, somebody's got my finger in my eye. And Mel goes, shit, Ronnie, it's me. Oh, no, I fought. I didn't care.
Ron Hextall or Ron Lowe? Who was crazier?
I didn't care. No, Hextall was crazy.
Well,
No, absolutely
sounds like
crazy.
you were pretty crazier.
No,
Crazy.
Hextall was a stick swinging man. I guess I did hack a couple of guys.
I was going to say, like, you sounded a little crazy.
No, I just took exception to the fact that a defenseman would come in and think you did something by stopping his shot.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Snaps couldn't break a pane of glass.
That's great.
You get into fights, Gager?
In junior, I did.
Yeah.
I've told this. I beat up a Swedish kid when I played in Sweden. Oh yeah. So that was. I didn't. He was bigger than me, but the bulk of the story the next day, because no one fought in Sweden, right? So all these guys are telling me I'm suspended. They're going to send me home or whatever, and it was right before playoffs. But I got on the train the next day. And because I didn't have a car, I took the train to the rink, and those little Metro newspapers.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there with my head in my hands, and I'm sitting. The train's packed. Everyone's going to work, and I look up, and all these Metro newspapers say "crazy Canadian goalie" in Swedish, and it's my picture of me hitting this kid, and the little old Swedish lady across from me, like she has her paper up. She looks up. Looks at me, looks down at the paper, looks up again, and got up and left.
No way.
Because it was me, yeah. So, yeah, that's, I think still for you, Gordon, I have 2 records. The only goalie to fight and longest playoff shutout streak, like minutes. So in the playoffs.
Beautiful.
So
I like them both.
Pretty good.
Two very
Yeah,
two ends of the spectrum. Yeah.
different, but
Wow.
Important.
important.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I don't have the shutout.
How long was it? Like, how many games about?
It's 2 and a bit.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So it went pretty
Did you guys win that year?
No, we lost semifinals.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So you weren't good enough later on, or
Yeah, well, the first 2 rounds we got.
So started off hot and then tailed off.
Yeah.
Maybe should have got into more fights.
Probably should have, but
We've got Hockey Helps the Homeless. That's coming up May 3rd, Twilliger Rec Center. Still looking for a registration. You've been involved with it for a bit. Why are you involved? What's gotten you to want to be involved with Hockey Helps the Homeless?
I've been involved with it here from the beginning.
This is the 11th annual this year.
I missed 1 year. I got mad at the whole organization for a year and got over it and got back into it because, I think it's a really important issue, homelessness here in Edmonton. And for anybody that walks outside the rink, our beautiful rink downtown, any given night on a 30 below evening in Edmonton can check and see what we're talking about. It's glaring, and hey, but for the grace of God go I. I mean, there's people that are homeless that don't deserve to be, for sure, and hey, anything we can do to help, I think is it's just something that I feel strongly about. I don't think anybody should be without a house or a home. Maybe not a house, but a home.
Place to lay down with shelter.
100%. And not have to have a Bunsen burner in a tent. Like, it's so bizarre what happens and how people end up there. There's so many different stories. I mean, and that to me is the biggest thing. It's not all drug related. It's not all alcohol related. Christ, there's young kids, girls, and men and women that are living in people's houses right now on couches because they can't afford to live in homes. It's a problem we've got, and anything that we can do as people in the community. Linda's been involved. Well, she's very involved with it, my wife. And we've raised, like, I think the homeless program, Hockey Helps the Homeless, has raised, like, I think
Nationally, it's over 24 million.
24 million. And in
National.
here, we've raised, I think, 2.5 now.
Nice.
Over the 11 years. But this year, we're trying to put a big push on. And we've got a lot of people that are involved behind the scenes. I mean, it's great to go to draft night on the 2nd, and it's one of the most fun nights in Edmonton of the year. The boys are basically all there, and I've really enjoyed being the involvement in it, like totally.
This year, support goes to the Mustard Seed, Kids Cottage, Jasper Place Wellness Center. Are you taking part?
If you ask me, yeah, it's tryouts.
Because you've been in it in the past.
Yeah,
It seems like it's always because the 1260 when we were there, we always were associated, and some of the boys would go play, and it was always a fun day because we'd go broadcast from there, and I don't know, I was always at the station having to run things back there, but it always just sounded like the most amazing time that's going on that Friday.
The draft's fun, but the day that we're all playing is great because you get to see guys that you haven't seen in a while, and the fans come out, and it's fun to watch these guys and do some crazy stuff on the ice. George gets out there, and everyone likes. Actually, George and Mac almost they almost went at it last year.
Mac T?
No.
McIntyre.
McIntyre, yeah.
Really?
Well, because there was that young team. They were all junior guys, and they were buzzing out there pretty good.
Oh yeah.
No one likes to get
lit up too much. Yeah.
So
This is a fun day. It's not about.
So there was tension on the ice, but no, it's a lot of fun. I can't wait. It's good to see guys like Bucky's out there and stuff, and it's great.
We got I think Mac T's coming in this year again, and Charlie Huddy and Bucky if he's not in the playoffs. And Luke Gadsdig's taking place this year. I think the Sutter boys are going to be there. We haven't firmed up the lineup yet. We're getting there. And it is a fun day. The draft night, of course, is bevies and appetizers and dinner. And you get to pick the number one fundraising team gets first pick overall and kind of goes down the line. And it's been handled really, really well. We're at the Brew House, which is a big supporter of ours in the community too, which is great. Rose and Darcy from Cameron Homes have been just unbelievable supporters as they support so many things in our city. And like you said, the charities that it goes to, everybody knows the Seed. Everybody. Teddy Green was serving meals there 25 years ago on a regular basis, and nobody even knew he was doing it. And never once wanted an acclamation for it, just did it. And took me down there a couple of days, and it was a totally different experience. And that charity is really well known. Jasper Place Wellness Center is a bit of a different charity. It's based on people that are addicted, that want to get out of it. They will arrange for housing. They've got some complexes here in town, but their criteria is, okay, we're going to give you housing, but you're going to work. And they've got like 4 or 5 different things. They move furniture. They go and pick up mattresses and stuff like this. Like they've got a really actually good kind of a business going on where you've got all kinds of people now getting involved in work. Murray Soroka, who runs Jasper Place Wellness Center, has an accountant who fell on really tough times, divorced, addict, got into cocaine use, and now he's their accountant for their business over there.
Awesome.
Taking care of everything. So, I mean, the things that they do are at an unbelievable scale, and their success rate of bringing people in that are addicted and getting them back out in the community has been outstanding. And they're actually looking now, I think they're going to get some funding here from the city or from the federal government. I hope they get some federal money. And it's wonderful what they do over there. And the other one is Kids Cottage, and that's the one that gets me. When you've got women that are in an abusive relationship, or a single mother loses a job and has got zero place to go, this is the frontline spot where they'll take you in for a week, 10 days, try and arrange housing for you. And for this one, like, I feel most strongly that this place needs all the help we can give them too, because I don't think there'd be anything worse. I mean, I could never imagine my daughters being out there with a child and not having a place to go. And this is one of the places in Edmonton, one of the few places in Edmonton where it's available. So the charities are well worth the while, and the day itself is fun. It's hard. It's 3 games in one day.
It is.
And for all the old guys that are out there, it's
Do you get out there?
No, sir. I have not put pads on since 1990.
Really, that long?
Yeah, I went. I was coaching with the Oilers, assistant coach, and Furzy had a tough night in Chicago and couldn't practice the next day. So it was right before Christmas, and Slats goes, "Well, Ronnie, you put the pads on. You can go out and you'll practice with the boys this morning." I go out and practice, and man, there's not a goddamn muscle that I didn't pull. I mean, I had my groins were tore, my freaking shoulders, and like I figured it out right then. I can't not try to make a save.
Yeah.
I'm quitting. and I haven't put them on since. There's no way. I just said it's stupid because I'm not in shape that I was in when I was trying to play, and oh God, I was hurting. I hurt for like a month.
Because you haven't put the pads on in a while.
No.
And so you play up front.
I play, yeah, the teams had goalies, but I think the last time I played was actually the last 2 years ago.
Yeah, you did play in
Yeah, and I completely ruined myself. We played against Chris Joseph's team, and we beat him 2-0.
Yeah.
And I must have had, I think I had like 50 shots in like.
You wanted to stop Chris Joseph.
Oh yeah, he's trying to score like really bad, and I was done. I was completely fried for the next 2 weeks.
Your poor muscles, because
you don't use those.
Yeah,
and
then you don't have the flexibility.
I'm not. Every day I got to stretch. I'm not stretching. I'm sitting in a chair watching TV. I'm not gonna
do a little bit of yoga.
Yeah,
start getting the yoga going and be prepared.
Those and it's such jerky movements. Like when you go out and play, and you can kind of skate and float. It's not hard, But goaltending, yeah, we're hardwired different. We want to stop the puck.
You can't go also slow speed.
You can't. You don't.
No, and absolutely. I remember sitting behind the glass that day, and I was kind of pounding on it. I'm going, easy, big boy, easy. You had a little bit of the Major Red going on when you flipped your mask up, and I'm going, easy. We don't want anything tough out here. I do remember the game, Walk. You were on fire.
Yeah, I was. That was it. I thought that's a good way to go out.
Yeah.
Is that common with a lot of goalies that they just generally don't put on the pads after?
See, some of them. Scoro still plays, doesn't he?
Yeah. Cooge never does.
No.
I remember when Billy played in that last. I talked to him a while ago, and he said that's it after that outdoor Winnipeg game or whatever.
Oh,
He's
right.
like
Yeah.
done. Rollison, I don't think he says, yeah, I don't want to do it anymore. It's tough. As you get older, it's like you go out. When I was done, I was like, I don't mind playing. I played men's league and stuff, but the 10:30s at KC or whatever, and I live on the south side. Those are tough to.
You played a lot in alumni games.
Oh
too,
yeah, and I did tons. I did
ton
tons.
of them,
Yeah.
for sure.
But now it's like. Well, alumni skates are either Tuesdays and Thursdays now, and I got 2 guys, so I got an excuse.
You planned it perfectly.
Yeah, it does make sense though, because it's just like unlike any other position, you need that flexibility, right?
yeah,
So, and because even just pushing off to go side to side, like
Yeah.
you can pull a muscle pretty easily doing
Yeah,
that.
I've ripped them like really bad. So it's like
you don't need to do that at this age,
No,
right? Like
no.
injuries at this age are just never worth it.
I never was injured playing like pro.
Yeah.
I was injured once that I was out for 6 weeks.
That's wild.
That's it. And now that I play for fun, I get injured all the time.
I know. And it's so long to recover.
Oh, it takes forever, and you're like,
Yeah.
And that's another thing. I would have I could go into a trainer, and they could do therapy. I can't.
They'll fix you up. They'll fix you right up.
You got to pay for
I gotta
physio
pay,
now. Yeah.
What do you mean?
Exactly.
I walk into the Glen Sather.
Wait
what do you
for
mean?
MRIs. Yeah.
$200.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What do you
love
mean
the
an
Glen
MRI
Sather.
in 6 months?
Yeah.
I've been going to Glen Sather recently, so love.
Oh, with the shoulder. Yeah, that's
I had
right.
a physio there yesterday. It's a fantastic place. Like
It is,
I've never
isn't it?
gone to the Glen Sather before until
Oh, yeah,
this
it's
last
the best.
summer, and it's
Yeah.
just like this is the
Absolutely,
greatest
yeah.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have any sort of sports injury, get to the Glen Sather if you can,
Yeah.
because they will take care of you super well.
Especially now that, they're like obviously an upgraded clinic. I've been going there for years and years and years, like swimming injuries and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And their original space was certainly more humble.
Yeah.
And like
become
the Van
very-
Vliet Center and
Absolutely
So
but it's just interesting with goalies because like hockey players, they keep playing and stuff. I guess the forwards, but like it's football. That's the big sport that when football's done, they're done.
Yeah.
You don't hear about football players going to play pickup football or flag football somewhere. Like they're just done with the sport. And in hockey, it's just like goalies then just not playing still, but not the position that you had. It's different than the rest of hockey, I guess. You guys are just that important. It hurts you guys so
I
much.
think when you're skating your whole life, the skating part, like being a forward or a defenseman, you can keep doing that until you're 65.
Yeah.
But not
Not
our position. leave that to the young guys, and you're way smarter doing it.
By the way, hockeyhelpsthehomeless.com for more information. You get 3 games with a former pro, NHL pro or Olympian, personalized jersey, socks, fully equipped locker room, complimentary breakfast, lunch, snacks, beverages. You get a participation gift. There's the draft the night before. It's a lot of fun. They're still looking for some registration. hockeyhelpsthehomeless.com. But also, if you're looking to just donate, you can head right there as well. Donate to some great causes. And then Friday, May 3rd, Terwilliger Rec Center is where it's all going to take place, and it'll be a fun time. We're hoping to have EST there all day as well, broadcasting our shows out there as well, so it'll be a good time.
The good thing about the money raised in Edmonton is it stays in Edmonton too, which is to me ultra important.
Yeah.
There's no point in you want to help your community.
Yeah.
And then this is nationwide. They have all sorts of places that will help their own communities as well. So
the big thing right now is we're trying to beat Calgary. Calgary just had theirs, and I think they came in at 320 or something like that. Okay. And I think we have to try and get in.
We're going to beat
this
them.
Year for
We've
sure.
got to beat them. We can't let Calgary win.
No,
absolutely.
There's no such thing as that.
Not.
That's
just unacceptable.
I got to go donate immediately.
Apologies to anyone that's listening from Calgary, but sorry. Edmonton's better.
You obviously just know. Do you hate Calgary? I was obviously raised
to hate it.
To absolutely hate Calgary. I don't know if my dad hated any other team more.
You know what? With me, it was Vancouver.
Really?
I disliked Vancouver. I disliked playing there when I played there. There's something about the fans in Vancouver that got me. I don't know why. But Calgary, because we were kind of in different eras. Vancouver was the one that we were really, really into it with when I was coaching. And when you're fighting every time with, I didn't like Vancouver.
Well,
I don't really care for Calgary because when I was walking on the streets there one night, I got smacked over the head. And so no, Calgary's got some special memories for me, but actually Calgary's a hell of a town. Really nice town.
Yeah, it is a good city. Yeah, it's hard to say, but it is a good city. Actually, my dad hates Vancouver too. He rips on the organization so much. He's like, "Where does the arrogance come from when you've never won a cup?" He always talks about. Got no cups.
Oh well, I grew up there, right? Yeah. So I loved the Canucks. One of the worst. Shouldn't say worst, but when I got drafted. The 2 rows, obviously, the first 2 rows were the teams that didn't do so well, and the back 2 rows were the good teams. And I think Vancouver was right there, but Edmonton was the last pick in those 2 rows. And Vancouver, I thought there was a chance they might take me, just being a local kid, right? And then Edmonton, they takes me, and I hated the Oilers.
Yeah,
I just hated them because they beat on my Canucks as a kid. They were the bully. Because they'd be up 5-1, and then Gretzky, it would come out and they'd win 7-5, right? It took me that whole walk down to meet everybody and say hi to Slats and stuff, and then I like the Edmonton, right? But then it kind of we'd go and play. You play against Vancouver and the Sedins. You're just they're awful. The fans are they're terrible. They're really, really bad.
Elliot Friedman has said in the past that the worst anger he gets on Twitter
is from
Vancouver.
Yeah.
Well, I had a buddy who worked in Vancouver and in Vancouver radio, and he just got absolutely just destroyed on Twitter and stuff. So it's an interesting place because it's not much of a sports town.
No,
they don't support. Again, we go back to
they'll support.
If a team does well, yeah,
and the moment they're not,
right?
it's like we're gonna go head to Stanley Park, or we'll go drive down to Seattle. Tell us when you're good again.
Yeah, let us know when we should show.
And we'll be back.
Back up. Yeah, exactly.
Well, there's 3 questions too many. One of the questions is what do we like about? Is there anything you like about the Boston sports scene? Because there's a lot of hate towards Boston teams, and I hate the Celtics. Can't stand the Red Sox. But one of the things I was thinking while driving in is they beat the Canucks in 2011 or whatever it was. And so many people got behind the Boston Bruins in that Stanley Cup run just so the Canucks don't win a Stanley Cup.
I mean, there's something pretty special just about hockey in Canada in general, right? Because there's not a lot of teams in Canada that I would get behind. I certainly wouldn't get behind the Leafs. The Senators are just kind of...
They're there.
I don't want to say like ugly stepchild, but like I don't hate them. My cousin played for them too, so like there's a little bit of a special place there. But I couldn't, like, I would never get behind Calgary in a playoff run. Never get behind Vancouver in a playoff run.
Montreal. And that's a mixed one. Like, I think there's some people that would never get behind Montreal, but I think because Ottawa and Winnipeg, no offense, but they're kind of on the side. There's no real love or hate towards them from the rest of the country.
Yeah, they're just kind of.
I would back Winnipeg.
You would back Winnipeg?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I would.
It makes sense. I think a lot of people would back Winnipeg and Ottawa.
I think I would too, yeah.
And
Small
Ottawa,
market,
and Ottawa, yeah.
Small market.
There's no reason to hate them.
Yeah. Well, there is. Oh, yeah, there is.
Yeah.
You play them in a 7-game series, I guarantee it. All kinds of reason to hate them for sure. Because
well, and they hate Edmonton.
they do, because they've been kicked.
All roads go through Edmonton, and they got their ass kicked every time. Yeah.
So many times when it's happened.
Yeah.
And they had great hockey teams. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
The year they had us down 3-1, and Billy flipped the chart on them.
Yeah.
I mean, that was absolutely phenomenal. But like, they had a great team that year. They were really good, and we weren't supposed to have anything. And I'll never forget that. Was it Alpo Suminen that was the coach then for Winnipeg? He wrote this. Went into the paper and said how after we got down 3-1, he said how Messier's overrated. He's old.
Coach wrote about this. The coach wrote
he wrote like an op-ed?
No. He told the reporter. This.
No.
So Teddy Green, of course, has got the paper out and he's got it taped on the board. And the boys
That's like the original bulletin board.
Oh my God. And then we win 3 straight.
Oh my God.
I think Greeny told the reporter after the game, Jimmy told Jimmy Matheson, he goes, tell Alpo we're not quite ready to go to the bedroom yet. We're still alive and kicking. And I think we won what? I don't think we only lost 1 game after that Winnipeg series that year.
Jesus.
I think we walked it after that.
Yeah.
It was wild, yeah.
What year was that? Do you remember?
1990.
90. Oh, yeah, that was
when Murphy and Jelena and Graves went on fire. And Mark Lamb looked like Gretz.
Yeah.
Lammer played so good for us in that series. I mean, in that year.
He kind of saved that line was.
Yeah, because Yari all of a sudden had a guy feeding them pucks again. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
That was fun. That was a fun series. That was a fun year, though. We weren't supposed to do anything. And we end up winning for fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh, Lord,
Yeah.
God,
Like,
that must have been so much fun.
Like, that's before my time, but like I meant trade away, sell Gretzky, and it's just like I think it's over.
Yeah.
Like, Edmonton's done, like type thing. But then go off and
no, it was a crazy run, and Muck and Teddy did an absolute phenomenal job of coaching that team. They had their finger on the pulse, and God, it was fun. It was a fun year.
And that's the only win that was the cup clinching was on the road, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in
Yes.
Boston,
Yeah.
wasn't
That's
it?
the only time that ever happened.
The
too,
lights
which,
went out.
It was
Yeah.
foggy.
That
Like they
season.
had the fog and everything.
It was just ridiculous.
Oh yeah, and then my dad said that the flight home was just like the craziest party all night. You played
Freaking
Tina Turner
chaotic.
over like Simply the Best over and over again. That's what he's told me. Do you remember it that way?
Yes,
or
absolutely.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it was really crazy too, because there was this girl on the flight, and I'm going, like, I'm sitting in the front with the coaches, and I'm going, who's this? And the girl
Just
goes,
brought a girl home from Boston?
Glenn Anderson.
Glenn Anderson, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Said, well, you might as well come. We went right from the bar. Mac T's buddy owned a bar there.
Stop it.
And so we were all at this bar until, I don't know what time in the morning. And then we just went to the bus and got on it. This girl was on the flight with us. And we landed here, and Customs goes, Where's your passport? Yeah, nope. Back on the plane, back to Boston. Oh, it was absolutely crazy.
Oh, that's hilarious.
For a second, I was worried you were going to say he came with my dad. She came with my dad. And I was like, I don't think we should talk about this.
New subject.
Oh, Christ.
It must be special, like winning on the road. Like it's got to be kind of nice after winning so much that like just party with.
It was special.
With yourselves, like there wasn't like a big like you could just do it as a team.
Yeah, it was very. It was really different than the two other ones that I was involved with. It was exactly that special, in the fact that they hung around the dressing room for probably 2.5 hours.
Oh yeah.
Like they just stayed in there.
Yeah, because you don't have
And-
anywhere else to go, right?
No,
Yeah.
at that time they've just enjoyed each other's company. It was wild, and oh Christ, I there's nothing like a celebration after a win, and I don't know if there's any sport, and I know everybody says it about their sport, but I don't know if there's a tougher one to win than Stanley Cup. It's just the grind of it, the daily 24 games
Yeah.
that you're going through, and it's intense.
Well, and Charles Barkley says that. Like
Yeah.
Charles Barkley, great analyst, great NBA player, goes toughest is the Stanley Cup. Like that speaks volumes. The only thing I would say maybe Memorial Cup.
Memorial Cup, yeah.
Just
because you have
got
to win
go
your
through
league.
that grind,
And then
you got the short tournament where one mistake
Yeah.
ends it potentially. That maybe like professionally, absolutely Stanley Cup. I would only like maybe the Memorial Cup because
Yeah.
that's such a
It is a grind too.
Yeah.
It is a grind.
Yeah, because you have to win your league
unless you're
and
host.
then keep playing. Unless you're the host,
Unless you're
right?
host.
Right.
But
And then it's
That's
like
such
it's
a
all
weird
bus.
rule too. I think
I
don't
which
like
one, the
that. I've
host?
never liked that.
The host?
Yeah, the host gets to go. I mean, you see that team usually load up too, right? They make an they're
9 times out of 10
they're,
they do,
they're
yeah.
trading away all their.
They want
their
to represent
picks.
at home.
They want to look good. I remember, I think it was Lauren Mulliken was coaching the Blades, and they were hosting. They weren't good. They were almost talking about moving it because it was kind of
Really?
Right.
yeah. And they sold the farm, and they ruined their. They weren't good for years afterwards because they had no picks at that point in the drafts, and they were just scrambling. So yeah, I don't.
It's just how do you then get someone to host it, right?
Well, yeah, I don't. You have to have a host, obviously. It helps to have the home team there, but maybe I don't know the logistics of it. But I think if it's in Ontario or in Quebec or in the West, the whoever wins, the two teams that
The
get to the
finalists,
final,
yeah.
whoever wins the league, that's where the Memorial Cup is that year. And
I think just logistically,
Yeah,
little
'cause
too
you
hard
have to
because it's a
plan
I think
it
it's
and-
1 or 2 weeks later.
I know
Memorial Cup's
it's
going,
yeah,
and you got to
it'd
get
be
all these
very-
teams there, media there,
And
It's
every
very
building's
difficult.
filled with something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
and just like, I mean, working now in tourism, like just being a sports host, like there's things that you want to put together to make sure that your city looks good, right?
Yeah,
so that people will
exactly.
want to come back there, so that it looks good on the national broadcast. So there's things for people to do. So yeah, there's just
and like if the
there's
Oil
just
Kings
too
going to
much
run
to
and
do.
win, there's no chance it's going to be hosted here. If
yeah.
you hope not,
Yeah, I
because
know.
that means the Oilers in the playoffs too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like you're hoping that you're not also blocking out Rogers' place for a week mid playoffs.
Yeah.
No,
I
we got to
know,
get the Oil
I
Kings in.
know.
So like I get it, but it's just
It'd be too difficult.
Yeah.
But I think that there
Unless
should be
you
some
have-
reward instead of, a team that gets bounced in the first round of the playoffs and sits around for the next 2.5 months just waiting to play.
unless you just like because they do go league WHL hosts QO and stuff. Maybe there you just go. We're gonna pick
Who's
a city,
who's
and we're gonna
trending
just like that
upwards.
city's gonna
Yeah.
take it. No, that city's gonna take it, and maybe you take the 2 teams still.
Yeah.
You
maybe.
say, okay, well, Kelowna's going to be the host this year, but whoever's in the WHL final wins
Those are
it.
the-
Those 2 teams will represent the dub. The O champ,
Yeah.
Q champ will come, and that's it.
Yeah.
But
Well, I
we
mean,
have a
it-
regular city, and unfortunately for that city, unless
team's
your team wins, you
Yeah.
can't support them.
But this isn't unheard of. I mean, the World Cup's the same.
Yeah.
The Soccer World Cup, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
the host
the host
nation.
nation does get a
Yeah.
spot, right? And then when we're
Qatar
talking
being the
about
first
North,
one ever to do poor.
Yeah. But I mean, now you're talking about it coming to North America. So
Let's
3.
not go into that. I'm still frustrated.
Oh, you think?
I know. When the schedule was coming out, I wanted to throw things. Like, I didn't want to watch any of it, didn't want to focus on any of it. I just got really, really angry.
And you knew Vancouver was going to get good games because...
Which I'm glad at least they are, in the sense that it's not Toronto, because then I'll go there. I don't want to go to Toronto. I know Vancouver came in late, and I should be mad at Vancouver, but it's closer for me, selfishly. That one's frustrating.
Yeah, that's fair. Are you going to go to the World Cup?
Yes,
Okay.
easily.
Would have been nice
Like,
if you
it's-
could have just gone to Commonwealth, hey?
It would have been great to just like walk out of my apartment, catch an LRT, go to the game and stuff. But no, like I love the World Cup. It is one of my favorite events ever. It's just something about a summer sitting on a patio watching soccer. It's just beautiful. That like, look, I'm Italian Ukrainian. As long as they qualify, I will try to catch them even. Like, I'll go fly around. It's in our backyard. It's just too bad it's not in our direct backyard.
Backyard. Yeah, that would have been nice. Do you have another sport that you love that, I mean, other than golf, I'm sure?
Play golf or watch golf?
I watch a lot of baseball too.
Yeah, okay.
I was actually a pretty decent baseball player. Could have went to Denver College on a hockey baseball scholarship.
Really?
And I decided against it because they said, why would I ever do that? First of all, I wasn't smart enough. And second of all, baseball players didn't come out of Canada at the time.
Right.
But in hindsight, I was actually better off for doing what I did.
Yeah.
But it would have been kind of interesting to go there for both. But I love baseball.
Team?
What position did you play?
I played first base and did a little knuckleballing.
Oh, no way.
No way.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't know this.
Threw a little, yeah.
What's
yeah.
your favorite team? Like, do you support or follow a team in the majors?
Actually, you know
Or
what?
do you just watch baseball?
I've always loved the Yankees.
Yeah!
Always. Always. But
Yeah. Oh, I don't like the buts. I'm a Yankee fan.
if Toronto's in, I'll cheer for them.
Okay, but Yankees...
Because I happen to like some of the things that Toronto have tried to do. Last year, I was so mad I could have broke the TV. Like, they played awful in the playoffs. I don't care what anybody says. And
That was-
Well, and then they pulled out the
Hopefully-
pitcher. Was it Barris got pulled, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah. that
And
was
like, just because
tough
of the
call.
numbers, the math says it. And it's like, well, I get analytics. I'm all for analytics. But sometimes there's
The eye
feel
test.
for the game has to be there.
Yeah.
You know
And you
what?
can't take him out.
Analytics and me don't get along.
Yeah,
I'm dead
yeah.
serious too. I mean, I know all of your things that say you should do this, you should do that. Do you think a field goal should have been kicked in the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
I mean, the game going into the Super
yeah.
Bowl,
Yeah.
like by Detroit.
Yeah.
Like seriously,
course.
come
Yes.
on, you guys. Let's.
Should've.
I mean, this
Yeah.
is your whole world surrounds this, and analytics say you should do this. I can take 3 points and then go.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know what.
Analytics can't take emotion into things or
Well,
like
if-
momentum.
if
There's
I'm
certain things
pitching-
that it's out that the emotion, when
Yeah.
there's something about the emotion of a sport.
If I'm pitching the best game of the year,
Yeah.
and I'm into it, and you can tell I'm fired
Dialed
up,
in.
and I'm throwing the ball 3 miles an hour faster than I've thrown it all year. I got to think seriously. This guy's hard to hit right now.
This is where, like, I think you balance the analytics and go, this guy's going, okay, the moment I see him falter
Well, you
is
give
when I
him
go,
the chance to
you
falter.
yeah, exactly. You don't go, wow, he might falter. The numbers say he should falter. I'm pulling. Let's see him falter and then make that move. But
I
now,
was disappointed.
would you
with
cheer for the Yankees over the Blue Jays if they met?
Oh.
that. No, they're probably 50-50.
Okay,
I'll just
I'll
flip a
accept
coin
that.
and don't care which
I'll
one
accept
wins.
that. I'm a Yankee fan. I grew up a Yankee fan, so
Well,
I've
I've actually always
loved-
been.
It's a great organization.
I love the fact that they've always. I love their most of their players are like Judge and Jeter. You can't get better people.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean, and that's one of the things about.
It's classy.
Yeah,
It's classy. It's iconic.
that's why I
It's
think
the New York Yankees.
Wait, what's the matter?
Ass in class.
It's beautiful. Like, you get no names on the back of the jerseys, clean shaven. It's great. Juan Soto's now a Yankee.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge baseball fan. I loved the Jays in the 90s, obviously, because it was so fun. And like, you know, my dad would be home at that. Well, no, he wouldn't be home at that time of year, but we would watch a lot of World Series. Wait a second. No, but we would watch a lot of baseball and stuff. And so, but I like baseball live. I'll go see any team. I went to spring training all the time when my parents had a place in Phoenix.
Fun, isn't it?
Oh God, I just love it. Like I love a ballpark. I love being there, but I can't watch 162 on TV.
Eric's brother follows the Jays almost all year. Like,
Yeah, really?
we'll watch almost every game in full.
Wow.
And it's hard.
I
Like a 162 is a long stretch.
That's too much. Do
Yeah.
you watch that many or?
I go back to Manitoba in the summertime
Yeah,
and have a cottage at the lake there,
yeah.
and I don't have TV.
Do you listen on the radio?
Okay.
Not really.
Oh, okay. Because
But
it is beautiful on the radio.
I've never
baseball.
had a TV out there. I don't
no
like
way.
it.
I love it.
Yeah.
When we go to the
You're there
lake, it's like
Disconnect.
I love that.
no,
Yeah.
and
There's
the,
too much to do at the lake.
and the kids have always gone along with it until later. Now,
Yeah.
I don't even have Wi-Fi at the lake,
Good.
which is it kills the kids. But I mean, I don't really care. I'm not on YouTube, YTube. I'm so unsavvy. It's a joke.
Perfect.
But when I get out there, I like to enjoy the
Yeah.
family and
Nature.
whatever it is. It's easy to
That's
lay back.
great.
But then you find out that Russia's bombed Ukraine, and you go, Jesus Christ, I missed a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? It's not good.
The world
No-
doesn't stop, and there's
No,
a lot
it
that
sure
you could
doesn't.
miss.
That's good for your mental health, though, because what's happening in the world right now, it's too much to keep up with.
Are you kidding me?
Right?
It's just ridiculous.
So, well, I mean, they keep doing studies on how humans aren't, you're meant to look after your village. You know, you're not meant to know everything that's happening around the world and everything that's happening to everybody. And we do, you know, with the internet now. So
Oh, 100%.
this sounds beautiful to me. I'd love to not know what's happening for a little while. So
I just struggle sometimes to put my phone down during a game.
It's
I
Watching
do
it,
agree,
It's
yeah.
awful.
I hate that I do this, but if I'm watching like a live event on television, when a commercial comes on, I'm looking for my phone to do, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like you can't.
the attention span, like even
yeah.
like
I
a
just can't put my
2-minute
phone
commercial
away.
break.
Yeah, and at night, I've done it a few times, but taking my phone and leaving it downstairs and reading before bed. You know, like
Yeah.
I have
it's-
never taken my phone to the bedroom
God,
ever.
it's awful.
Ever. It stays downstairs.
Yeah, really.
Whatever's taking place during the night, I can catch up with in the morning.
Yeah.
Man. I just don't. And Linda's totally opposite.
Oh, she's
yeah?
got her phone in
Totally
there.
opposite.
Yeah.
But then she's got two daughters that can text her
Yeah,
at 6:30 in the morning. Baby's having a bad day. Okay, well,
I'll come over,
yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
My dad has a flip phone.
Oh, yeah.
So
Love it.
I think he wins out of all this. Yeah.
The moment I'm done with broadcasting, I will go to a flip phone.
He
I
like
will
he has
cut off
obviously
social
no
medias,
idea
all of it.
how to text.
Good.
He texted me a while ago, Rod Phillips. And I wrote back, "Hi, Dad," and absolutely no response. I don't think he has a clue he sent that. Somehow that accidentally got sent. Just Rod Phillips, and I was like, "Yep,
That's great.
that's who you are." Yeah.
I loved your dad. My biggest memory of your dad, obviously larger than life, but after a game, like if we would win, you know, it'd be a tight game. He was first guy into the dressing room, and he came in. You'd think he played. And he would go straight in and grab a Bud Light.
Yeah.
Right into
Or Coors Light,
big Gatorade cooler, grab it, crack it. Oh my God. That was unbelievable. And he'd just go into the whole, what happened in the game. And like, I'd sit there and I'd just smile. Oh my God, Rod. Like, you didn't play. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah.
But he was.
He expended a lot of energy.
Oh yeah. He was.
Yeah.
Tie was all like shirt unbuttoned.
Yeah.
His hair kind of disheveled and just cracking that beer and just go, oh my God. It was great.
I did actually want to ask you guys about it. Like, I mean, obviously I was always on the outside, but I was always at the rink. But like, what was he like as the broadcaster? I mean, did he drive you crazy sometimes or?
He was unbelievable. Well, I probably had more meals on the road with Rod Phillips than any other person, including all the coaches and everything. Rod and I went for dinner, I don't know how many times. And it was always stuff to talk about. We had so much fun.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, he was an intense broadcaster though.
Yeah.
Very, very intense. He and he called a hell of a game too. Really called a good game.
Yeah.
And some of the things that he used to say on air, I put in the clips when we were showing the video for the boys. Because
Really?
some of the things that he said, I would like to say it, but I'd sooner have Rod say it so I don't have to embarrass No, I did that lots. A ton.
Yeah, that was the good thing about him. He was like, I mean, he could be hard on the guys if he needed to be, right? He wasn't afraid of that. So,
well, because he was so involved with it. Like he was kind of, him and Glenn were great friends. And
yeah, they knew each other for a long time.
I mean, the things that he said, he could get away with too. And he wouldn't really, the guys were never really mad at him after he said something because 95% of the time he'd be right on the money. And we were kind of blessed with people that really didn't think that they were infallible. Like they knew they did make mistakes, and so when you got called out on it, nobody's feelings were hurt.
Yeah.
Now I'm not so sure you can. You can feelings get hurt very easily nowadays.
Yeah.
And I know one thing: I couldn't coach now. No chance in the world.
He apologized once. He came into the room because I don't know what I'm trying to think of what he said on the air. Half of us didn't even know what he said, but he actually came in and apologized for something he said, and we were like, right. But I wouldn't know any difference. Like he was kind of the how I judged all other media guys wherever I played after, and no one.
Like how dealing with them off the air. Like
just like okay, he's the voice of the team, right? And no one ever, not that whoever I was with, no one was quite ever like Rod, because he was like another player on the team almost.
Yeah.
It was
apparently another coach.
It was fun, like and laughing all the time, and always approachable, and it wouldn't just be about hockey stuff. You'd talk about everything, plane rides and things like that. I mean, that back then we didn't we flew commercial, right? So we would be sitting next to these
and he was
guys.
the ticket guy, right? He would always have to go up to the desk and get the tickets, and then he'd hand out the tickets to the players. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever play go charter? Or was it
the second time around I got
it was charter
we chartered then, right?
Lucky.
But
I never got it.
You never got it.
Never got it. Got it in the playoffs. That was the only time.
Oh yeah, no, that was an eye opener. But, sitting in the middle next to people. I remember
in the middle. Oh no.
Yeah, well, rookies always in the middle, right? We'd get the middle seats. So I remember two women were sitting next to me, and I fell asleep like that, but I would make saves in my sleep. Right? So I said, sorry, like, I'm gonna try to stay awake, but I fall asleep, and sometimes I do jerk. I'm a professional hockey player. I do that. So we're barely taking off, and I go like this, and I hit the woman like right in her chest.
Yeah.
Like,
right where your elbow would go if you're sitting next to somebody.
And she just looked at me. I was like, oh my God. And I was like, oh my God. So I just sat like this the rest of the flight. I was just so petrified. And then, do you remember Sean Brown on it? Like, do you ever see Sean Brown on a flight? Was he? I don't think you ever coached Sean Brown.
Oh yeah, I coached him.
So he hated flying.
Yeah, he's a nervous guy.
He was just awful flying. So, which was weird. He'd sit by the window or whatever, but he'd always close the blind. And I remember I loved sitting beside him because I thought it was hilarious. But there was like Brownie, good-looking guy, and stuff.
Oh, I had a big crush on him when I was younger.
Yeah. So really, and chatty and stuff. And there was this older lady sitting next to him. And you could tell, like, she was kind of into him or whatever, talking. And he's, like, it was a lot of turbulence. So he actually dives down. He's basically in this woman's lap. And
no.
She loved it, though, because she's just stroking his back. And thought this was the best flight ever. I got this really good-looking hockey player sitting in my lap right now. So, she was just beaming the whole flight.
Oh, my gosh. It's so weird to think about. Like, could you imagine getting on a flight and the entire Oilers team, like, back, like, Wayne Gretzky, Mark Messier are
on the plane.
on the plane with you.
But
You know how
Baseball
many-
sports, like I've seen like Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, all of a sudden just on a commercial flight for you.
Their knees, like I
Yeah.
can't even fathom.
But how, like as a kid, how many napkin autographs did you get from flights? Because a lot of athletes
Yeah.
were on. That's where you got. Oh, here, I got this. I remember my dad going on flights and he met some famous hockey player on the team was
Yeah.
on the flight, and that's how you got your autographs. They're all in these little bits of paper. I just remember, right? From
I'd
the
like
plane.
to have $1 for every minute I've spent in Minneapolis airport. Like
The ultimate
honest
connector,
to
yeah.
God. It was ridiculous. We'd fly to Boston. You'd leave here at 6:30 in the morning. You get into Boston at 6:30 at night, and you've spent 5.5 hours doing that connection in Minnesota. I mean, and at the last year or 2 years, a lot of teams were chartering, and we weren't.
Yeah.
And you're behind the 8 ball on a lot of those things. When you don't do the same things as everybody else, you're behind the 8 ball a lot of times before you even start the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did you get to Florida? You know, those places, right? Like, it's so far away. And like, unfortunately, you know, in Edmonton, the air service has never, you know, like, there hasn't been a ton of direct flights here because it's not, you know, a hub
Got
airport.
there now, though.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Yeah, we're
There's
working
a lot
on
of
it.
direct flights.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There
No,
are-
listen,
I'm going to
listen.
Atlanta direct flight in June. Thanks
I
to
know,
the Edmonton International
and thank
Airport.
heavens for
I
that,
think
yeah.
I'd have to get the numbers from Dusty. Like it's actually they've worked hard.
Oh,
to
they're working really
increase
hard.
it. And I think I could be wrong. I think there's like 50 good. Maybe that's a little high. There's a good amount of like sports destinations you can go to watch sports now direct from Edmonton.
This
Scott
is
Phillips
not a
there.
criticism because they are working hard. They also have a ton of cargo service at Edmonton International Airport as well. They're a hub for cargo service.
Are
so
they?
I am. Yes. Don't worry.
Didn't know that. I didn't know that.
I'm thinking about my own job when I talk about the airport as well, so don't worry. But yeah, like getting to Florida, like that's not easy from Edmonton.
No, we
You know-
used to fly to Toronto straight down.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not
No, it's
too bad
not.
then.
That's not the worst, but
It's not the worst.
Do you guys chuckle when you hear pro athletes nowadays, or like the not pro athletes do it, but the narrative that like traveling's so tough?
Actually, you know what?
Or do you think
It is.
is it
Oh yeah.
even with now the charters
Well,
and all that?
if you're on this West Coast,
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah,
this
Still
is
would
the
be?
hardest thing of the game right now. I think is the travel.
Yeah.
Because your time zones are. I mean, and I've never had a problem with it my whole life. I can go from Italy, land here, sleep overnight, get up the next day, and I don't really care one way or the other. But a lot of athletes, man, they just it's hard. It's out of routine for them, and I think it's really tough. The West is harder
Way harder.
because you got to go and then come back.
Yeah.
Time zones every time. It's just crazy.
Well, Western Conference has 3 time zones. I don't think they at all reach the Eastern time zone.
no,
trying
it
to
would just
think.
be Central.
Yeah, I think as far as Central, when Detroit used to be around in the West, that would have been an Eastern time zone.
Yeah.
Whereas they're just the 2 time zones, but often just the Eastern time zone.
But
Yeah.
the one thing about it, because when I came back to the Oilers and Mac T was coaching, and Dougie and Billy were there, and,
Yeah.
and we were in Columbus, and we were chartering at that, or we still weren't chartering. We had some charters, but some commercials still, till it went all charter. And this is in the previous years I tried to play on as many teams as possible. So, but I can't. It was always different, and I remember going for dinner with Dougie and stuff, and I asked him, I go, why? Like I played on all these different teams. Why is this team different? Like the guys are so much closer. You know, it's just and he says one of the main reasons we're a tight team is we stay overnight because of the charter. You were usually getting on the plane right after the game. On the road, we'd play, and then we'd go out for a bite to eat and go back to the hotel and hang out more. And that was one of the reasons Dougie said that's why Edmonton's it's a different type of team. Is because we spend way more time together than most other teams.
When I was in
like
New
that.
York, I think when I was coaching there, I think the one year I was out of my bed 20 nights. 20 nights.
Really?
All told.
Yeah.
No
when I was
way.
in Edmonton, oh yeah. But you look at your games. You
Yeah.
chartered all of them. and you're back home, like you got Jersey, Buffalo, Toronto, Montreal,
They're all an hour and a
They're all-
half.
Philadelphia,
It's all right there.
Hour and a half or less.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
You've got them all within, and like it was like, what is this? You never saw the other team. I mean, the rest of your team half the year. When with Edmonton, you're out of your bed 123 nights
Yep.
in the year, and that was not counting playoffs. So you're like, it's just totally ridiculous. It's not ridiculous. It's actually good for what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're together on the road, a whole bunch with your guys, and to me, that was a good thing. It's just that the catch up comes
Sometimes,
back
right.
to get you.
Yeah.
I always think about my dad because, I mean, as you know, he wasn't a good flyer. I can imagine you
awful.
saw him on a lot of flights and before charters too. So he said, and of course, like the NHL stats teams weren't as good. Was he like that? I mean, I only usually flew with him, and now, you know, you can take anti-anxiety pills and stuff. So he was usually a lot better. But I can imagine, back in the day, it was not great. So he said in the stats, I mean, they weren't nearly as good. Like the internet wasn't around. You couldn't just go look anything up, right? So he would pour through like all night. Like he'd have his light on when he'd fly through the night, and he would just go through stats lines and like just look at every guy. And then he'd be like, oh, wait, this guy hasn't scored in 10, right? Because you don't have, that wasn't as available back then. It wasn't just this common knowledge.
Yeah.
And so, like, I mean, you know, he got his job done while he was flying, but I can't imagine how tired he was.
No.
Because like if you're staying up all night to fly, and then like you're getting to, you know, Buffalo, and you got a game that night,
no,
and you haven't slept.
It was absolutely. It's a crazy situation, and you ended up. But the East is so much easier travel wise, and I think that's why they've done so well in the playoffs all the time. It's like they're right there. They stay there, and time zones.
The body doesn't have the toll throughout the whole
The
season.
time zone's the same, yeah.
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 The whole time.
That's almost it for the EST Hangout for this
Whoa.
Thursday. Coming up next, it is the Lock Shop. Dusty and Huss will take you through the best bets for tonight. And then at noon, Gager's back with Matt Cassian, along with Dusty for Two Guys and a Goalie. You guys will recap the 6-5 OT loss, Oilers Bruins from last night. Look ahead to the game against Minnesota tomorrow. Once again, hockeyhelpsthehomeless.com. For more information, you could donate there. You can also register. Coming up May 3rd, Twilliger Rec Center, but draft night, it is May 2nd. Ron, it was great having you here. This was a lot of fun, a lot of blast, a lot of messages in our nasty chat and their inbox, just people saying this has been the best one yet. A lot of great stories. So thank you for coming in.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was a blast. Like I said, it's already 2 hours.
What happened?
I think Dusty must have went over on his show or something because it didn't seem like 2 hours.
Yeah, no, well, that's Dusty took a couple minutes from us, but we had a lot of fun here. So thank you again, Ron, Gage, or Quinn as well. Thank you very much for coming in, and thank you for tuning in here to the EST Angle presented by White Claw. Like I said, coming up next, it is the Lock Shop. On behalf of Gager, Ron, Quinn, I'm Matt. Thanks for tuning in, and I will talk with you tomorrow. Gager will talk with you at noon. Lock Shop in just a few minutes.